Welcome to another TMG interview. My name is Paul Preston, talking to a pair of actors from the new film called Scrap, having a great run on the film fest circuit. I like nothing more than stories from the indie film scene, from the trenches. So let's talk to Vivian Kerr and Anthony Rapp. Now, Vivian, you're also the film's writer and director, so you're certainly more qualified to tell people watching or listening to this what the film is about. So have at.
Sure. Scrap is an intimate family drama about a brother and sister, sort of in the vein of You Can Count on Me or The Skeleton Twins with Bill Hader and Kristen Wiig. I sort of am calling it a dramedy now because now that I've seen it with audiences, they laugh a lot more than I thought they would. So and now I'm calling it a dramedy, I think. And yeah, it's about these siblings who are hiding secrets from each other. The sister, Beth, my character, has recently been laid off and is living in her car and hiding that from her older brother, Ben. And he and his wife, Stacy, are going through their second round of IVF and really struggling with infertility.
Yes, you did better than I would have done describing it. Very nice. But let's talk to you for a second, Anthony. One of the cool things about Phoenix Film Fest is that I saw a number of recognizable faces in all the shorts and features, including Eric Roberts. I saw Jackie Hoffman, Greta Lee. And now Scrap isn't a franchise like Star Trek or like Law and Order, which I know you've also appeared on, but you started in indie films way back in like Dazed and Confused. But what about the indie film scene draws you back continuously, and what specifically drew you to Scrap?
Well, what draws me to indie films, good indie films, is the authenticity, the sense that everybody who's working on the film cares about the story they're telling. It's not just about cashing a paycheck. There's nothing wrong with cashing paychecks per se necessarily, but it requires a level of commitment to make it happen. And so I really love that. And yeah, my best experiences of making films have been the indie films that I've been a part of, that I've been fortunate enough to be a part of. So all of that felt like it was really happening with this when I read the script of Scrap. It's like the kind of work that I am drawn to, because it's trying to tell the truth, but in a complex and subtle way. It's not, there's not like a, I get really annoyed when I see films and people are trying too hard to be clever, or trying too hard to be like slick, or that kind of stuff. And this just felt real and raw and alive in a way that I'm very honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, I sat in on as an actor on an actor panel at Phoenix Film Fest where Scrap just played, and that's what I told people interested in acting. It was like, just lean into and tell the truth, whatever format you're on, whatever acting method you bring, it's all about the truth. And yeah, they certainly gathered that more in the indie film world. Absolutely. Now, speaking of Phoenix Film Fest, Vivian, you won the Best Performance Award. You gotta update the IMDb page. I was just there, so somebody get in there and get that done.
Oh yeah, I gotta add it. I know. Right now, we came back and it was such a whirlwind of a festival. I think I'm still recovering a little bit from it, but yes, we will get that updated, I'm sure, soon.
Now, you were on the First Time Filmmakers panel, which I attended, and that morning I was sent an Instagram, or I came across an Instagram post that said, it's super dark, but it's very funny. When I die, I want the people I've done group projects with to lower me into my grave so they can let me down one last time. Dark, right? But
that's really funny.
But really funny. Right. So that led to the question I wanted to ask, and which was, how do you delegate? How do you even more so perhaps keep yourself from micromanaging especially on a first project?
I mean, I don't know, because my instinct is to micromanage. Like, I'm a type A.
Me too. Yes.
I am just a few brain cells shy of, Tracy Flick in an election. I'm quite I'm just very, very type A. So, but that's why acting has been such a wonderful career for me, because it's taught me so much about relaxing into myself, not being able to control things, leaning into curiosity. So I think I've just sort of taken what I learned, how I learned to sort of be a better actor, and sort of I'm trying to apply that to directing. Find people that you do trust, prep with them. I mean, we had an incredible DP on Scrap, and he and I prepped for months, so that we were so clear on the shot list. He knew my mind completely. And again, it's the same thing that how I approach acting, like prepare, then throw it all away and then see what happens. So I'm trying to kind of bring that same mindset into directing, although it's not quite throw it away and see what happens. But you know,
You have to pivot sometimes, right?
Sorry.
You have to pivot sometimes, though, right? I mean, as much as you prepared, you still have to go. Boop.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
And I mean, yeah, absolutely. So you know, and I think the preparation gives you that ability, gives you that flexibility. So yeah, I think it's just finding collaborators that you trust, you know, finding 2 or 3 people at the center who, whether that's, you know, your production designer, your DP, your producer, you know, if you have like this inner core of people that you trust and you're all truly on the same page with what we're trying to achieve every day, then you don't need to be running around micromanaging.
Good for you. I still would be like, "Yeah, can I just look in the screen real quick and just, you know, see everything?" But anyway, obviously the results are there. And you mentioned the
Also,
DP too.
happy accidents too. Like Anthony, there
Oh
were
yeah.
so many moments where like you would do something on set and I don't know, like you look at an actor's performance and you're like, oh, that's really cool. Okay, let's make sure we adjust sort of the framing of this, or let's make sure I want to, you know, let's invent a new setup to make sure we get that, because that moment is shaping up in a way that's really special that we didn't anticipate, or I didn't anticipate. So, you know, being able to like let the actor's performance shift things on the day too. That's really exciting for me. And we did a ton of that on the second film I just shot.
Yeah, good for you for being open for that. But you mentioned the DP twice. So let's get a shout out by name, because the opening of this film, if I don't know if you've been told in interviews or reviews, reminiscent of Woody Allen and Manhattan specifically and Midnight in Paris. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but it's certainly, those films set you up for the tone of Manhattan and Paris. This sets you up for the tone of LA and the kind of world that Beth is going to find herself in. So do I have that right about how it works as a setup, or is there anything else in that montage you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so I'll shout out. So his name is Marcus Mentzer. He's an incredible Los Angeles-based DP, and he was, you know, very patient with me since this was my first time as a director. Obviously, I had like way more questions. Like I wanted more of his time too, and he was very generous. And then obviously the opening of the movie, it is sort of a playful nudge to kind of those Woody Allen-esque openings, but in a way that's a little bit like, I mean, I guess a little bit not making fun of it. I don't know if that's quite right, but you're sort of, it isn't real, right? Because all these sort of hyper saturated images are really what Beth's like dreaming about, you know, when she wakes up in her car. It's like her idea for like that she thinks her version of Los Angeles is almost going to be like La La Land, you know, everything's like very hyper saturated, like an MGM musical. And it's like not like that at all. And so kind of the journey that she goes on throughout the course of the film is like letting go of that delusion and like facing up to her own responsibilities and the reality of the city in which she actually lives, that has these homeless encampments, that has like real problems that need fixing. So maybe it's a little bit making fun of what
I mean, no, it is beautiful things, but look what's underneath that you don't see if you don't look closely. Yes. And your film does, and we get Beth, warts and all. And Anthony, so your character is essentially a saint in dealing with it. Like in my personal life, I've actually even going to films, like watching a film about a character who just, I don't understand why all the people in the movie aren't just tossing this person to the curb and be like, what, this person is not worth the story. So it's a testament to how good Scrap is that I stayed in there and I was actually rooting for Beth, who just continually disappoints and lies and does all this stuff. Right. So I'm not wrong, right? I think. And Anthony, so, but your character, how do you play that character with, you know, who continues to still give her the time of day? And do either of you have someone like that in your life? You know, not like the DP where you don't have to name names, but I've had them, and I just, you know, time's short. I had to cut some people out of my life. But how about you guys?
Well, the first part of the question, you know, I think Ben will never be, I don't think Ben would ever be able to cut her out, because, you know, he was left with her as caretaker when their parents died.
Sure.
And so that, I think that sense of responsibility is just so deep and entrenched and profound. So I just don't think he would ever have it in him to cut ties.
No, that's a great conceit for the story, by the way, that I don't share. I don't have anyone like that, but you tie it into family like that. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a big thing of it. I do have a friend who, I've known since I was 11, who has had so many drug and alcohol problems, and at a certain point, like kept getting sober, kept getting sober, and at a certain point, it was just too painful for me to continue to go to the well and hope that a new day would have dawned. And then, it's the kind of person when he does get drunk or high, like completely becomes a monster. So I just had to go, I can't be around. I love you, I wish you well, but I just, that's really one of the only people that I've really had to do that with, but it was really hard.
Yeah, so with Ben, you get that win of sorts, which is
really
cool. Yeah.
And I mean, Ben also has Stacy. I mean, that's I think she's an enormous balancing presence in his life. Like he can do all of his like caretaking of her, but she's also so strong for herself that she kind of doesn't need the caretaking, but she can still accept it. So I think it's a much healthier dynamic than like the kind of caretaking to Beth who needs it but doesn't want it, but like it's more fraught between them.
There's another rich character, your wife in the thing. So let me ask you this then. As I mentioned at the top, I like stories from the trenches. Do either of you have some about like a barrage of being told no, or weather, or scheduling, or something? Because indie films always hit that wall, and then you gotta, as you said, pivot, move around, do something different to get the film done. What sort of was trying to block you, but you beat it?
Yeah, was there anything for you? I mean, it seemed like everything went
well,
pretty smoothly.
I can add a little context.
You thought we actually did get really lucky. I mean, I would say there was a little bit of a challenge where it's in some scenes we needed to have a body double for our child actress. So making sure that those like shots matched. So, there's a scene in the movie where they come into the bedroom, Ben and Stacy's characters, they come into the bedroom to wish her happy birthday. And I never thought we would get away with this, where when we're shooting them coming through the door with like, they have like a muffin with like a birthday candle on it, and they're sort of singing her happy birthday. We shot that on one day. And then the reverse of the little girl sitting in the bed and blowing out the candle, we shot that on another day. And I was like, I remember thinking like, there's no way we're gonna be able to get this together. Like, there's no way it's gonna work. And our editor did an incredible job with it. And first time I saw it, I was like, I cannot believe that we've gotten away with this. They look like they're in the same room, on the same day.
Yeah.
Let's get the name of that editor too, because I don't like the term below the line. Let's kick him above the line. What do you got?
Yeah, he's extraordinary. His name's Toby Yates. His father actually was Peter Yates. Was a very famous director who directed Bullet. Yeah, and Toby's had a really incredible long career as an editor, which again, I got really lucky on my first film to have all of his experience and to be able to learn so much from him.
Cool. And now Anthony, you were in the short film that was a kind of proof of concept short that eventually garnered acclaim as well and had a festival run of its own. So what did you two have to do to make that into the feature? Any of the story make it into the new one? Was there new acting challenges brought in for you, Anthony? What was the transition like between short and feature?
It felt pretty seamless in terms of the seeds that have been planted in our dynamic, and the all that. I didn't have to do anything except show up in terms of making the feature happen. That was all Vivian and Rachel and all the people making the feature happen. And then I just like, I'll go to LA and make the movie. Sure. But yeah, the rhythms between us, I think, were nicely established in the short, and then we got to expand on them in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote the feature with him in mind because, I thought we had such great chemistry working together on the short. So yeah, I mean, it's just, I think like anyone, right, for any indie film, it'll just be like the money, right? It just takes a long time to get financing. Even a little bit of the small, budget that you need for a film like this, it just takes a really long time.
Well, if you want to read more about Scrap, you can go to themovieguys.net. Ray Scalacci, a longtime friend of Phoenix Film Fest, has been writing for this website since I met him in 2014. And he loved the film and put up a great review there, so you can check that out. And of course, follow us on social at The Movie Guys everywhere, and we'll keep you updated as to how the film makes its next transition from the Film Fest run to where everybody can see it. And with that, let me ask a question I ask everybody who I interview, related to nothing. What is your favorite movie of all time? Whoever would like to take this in whatever order.
It's always hard for me to say one. One of them, like formative years, when I was really falling in love with cinema, is 8.5 by Fellini.
Oh.
But of more recent years, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, I still haven't seen that.
Is that the most radical Best Picture winner perhaps ever? It's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's insane. Yeah.
And the way
Birdman
that it's made some people angry. Some people are so angry at that movie, which I don't understand because it's so full of joy. Anyway.
And kick-ass action scenes. If you don't like joy, there's that, but I like it all. So yeah, that's great. Vivian?
Oh, geez. I do not have a favorite movie. It's so impossible to me. It's like, I like all the ice cream flavors. I truly do. Like,
because it's ice cream. Yeah.
It's ice cream. Except like the weird ones. But yeah, I guess
everybody cheats, by the way. They always say 5 or 6 movies, or they my favorite is Raiders of the Lost Ark, but you put in The Princess Bride right now, I'll go, I think that's the greatest movie I've ever seen.
I guess I feel like one movie that I remember watching on VHS with my sister like over and over and over again when we were kids was Kenneth Branagh's Much Ado About Nothing. Like that, I mean, I was already like a huge Shakespeare nerd, but like that ensemble, the design, I mean, I loved everything about it.
The score, Patrick Doyle's score was crazy.
All of it, so I think those actors like, like Emma Thompson, Denzel Washington, their performances in that, Michael Keaton. I mean, it was like, I think he's in it.
Robert Sean Leonard, is that young Kate Beckinsale?
Yes, I know they're like
act.
babies. Yeah. But that movie I remember watching over and over and over again, and so it helped continue to encourage my interest in theater, in Shakespeare, in sort of ensemble acting, and in sort of like the visual storytelling of film. So I still have a very, very soft spot in my heart for that movie.
All right. Well, Vivian, give us the plugs. Where can people find out more on social media or the internet about Scrap?
Best place is scrapthefilm.com, and then we're on social media at scrapthefilm. All
right. Thank you both. I appreciate it, and get out there and continue a great festival run.
Thank Paul.
You.